Steel City. Is everybody ready to go? Let's proclaim the greatest radio show.
It's week 8. I'm feeling great. 1-1 on my fantasy teams this week, and I'm still in 3rd place in one of the leagues.
Very nice. What are you in the other league?
I'm 3-4.
3-4.
And I think I'm in 5th or 6th place. I don't know. I'm still in the playoff hunt, though.
Get it.
Making moves.
We're going to start with these waiver claims, though, and I'm going to go through them pretty quick because there's a lot of them here. A lot of people
I'm going to check my email while you're talking.
Okay, thank you for interrupting me. There's a lot of people added to be here depending on how deep of a league you're in. I'm going to start off with quarterbacks. Ryan Fitzpatrick, he's still available in about 70% of the leagues. Over the past 2 weeks, he has 548 yards passing and 4 touchdowns. And you look, his next 4 games, you got at Oakland, versus Jacksonville, versus Buffalo, and at Houston. All of these teams can be beaten by the pass. So he's a decent ad at this point. He was one of our sleepers last week, and he's going to be one of our sleepers this week as well. Another quarterback here, Brian Hoyer, he's available in about 85% of the leagues. Over the last 4 games, he has 10 touchdowns and just 2 interceptions. And he has 3 straight games of at least 273 yards passing. But his next 4 weeks are versus Tennessee, and then he has a bye, and then he plays Cincinnati and the New York Jets. So those are 3 pretty tough matchups for him moving forward. But if he can make it through this Tennessee game with good fantasy stats, I'd think about adding him coming out of the bye maybe. But you got to also remember he lost Arian Foster for the season, so that kind of hurts for him as well. Let's move on to running backs here. Charkandrick West from Kansas City, he's still available in about 40% of the leagues. He had a bad first week, obviously, after Jamal Charles went down, only had 9 carries, 33 yards, something like that. So he actually got dropped by some people after that week, but he went out and put up 110 yards and scored a touchdown versus Pittsburgh. And that was supposed to be a tough matchup for him. He's looking pretty good moving forward as maybe a number 2 running back or a flex.
Classic fantasy for me. I played him week 1 when he started. I got nothing. I didn't play him this week. He blew up.
That's the way it works.
Garbage.
I'd go at him, though, and at least put him on my bench if nothing else. Another guy you got to go out and add, Darren McFadden. I said this the past 3 weeks now.
Blockout, dude.
He's still available in about 60% of the leagues.
Never
block him. 29 carries, 152 yards, and a touchdown at the New York Giants this past week. And this is a game that Joseph Randle got hurt in. So McFadden took full advantage of the opportunity, and it looks like he's going to be the main back moving forward. He dominated in this game.
He's just like Michael Vick. Dude's going to blow out his hamstring in a week.
And shut the hell up. And the week prior, he had 9 receptions versus New England. He was actually supposed to take over Lance Dunbar's role, but now that Randall's hurt, he took full advantage, like I said, and it looks like he's going to be the main back there. He still got Christian Michael out there too, though. How about since Arian...
See, Mike.
Thank you for interrupting me again.
I'm good at it.
You done?
Maybe. Are you still going to try to talk?
Oh, obviously, I'm trying to get through this segment here. There's a lot of guys we got to talk about. Now, since Arian Foster went down, there's Alfred Blue. He's available in about 80% of the leagues. He had 1 good game while Foster was out early in the season. It was versus Tampa Bay in week 3. He had 31 carries, 139 yards, and a touchdown. But he's had a toe injury recently.
Ow, my toe!
And Chris Polk has actually been the number 2 back the past couple weeks. And they're expected to use a committee approach going forward. Alfred Blue, he may be the guy that gets the carries in between the tackles, but they're saying Chris Polk, he should be the guy used in the passing game more. So while I'd go out and add Alfred Blue if you lost Arian Foster, it could end up being Chris Polk that's more valuable in that backfield there. But either way, I don't expect huge things out of either one of these backs. Nothing compared to Arian Foster. I was looking at Yahoo's predictions. They pretty much expect him to do what Foster did for some reason. But yeah, I'd go out and add Blue, but don't expect huge numbers out of him. Another running back, James Starks. He's available in about 50% of the leagues. We talked about him last week as well. He had 10 carries, 112 yards, including a 65-yard TD and a 5-yard TD reception in their last game. Now they're coming off a bye. Maybe Lacy is a little bit more healthy and he'll take over as the lead back again. But what James Starks showed this past game has to lead you to believe that there's going to be some sort of committee approach and they're going to keep Starks involved. And if Lacy doesn't come back and run well, Starks could take over in that backfield.
Lacey's garbage. Always hated on that dude, but Starks is even more garbage. But somebody's got to get the points, I guess, right?
It depends on what kind of league you're in. If you're in a 6-team league, you're not going to worry about either one of these guys right now, and you have something else beast. But if you're in a 12 or 14-team league, these are very valuable players still. How about the New York Giants running back, Orleans Darkwa? Eddie B loves this guy,
Is he
obviously.
from the dark side? Is he like Star Wars?
I don't know. You'd have to talk to him about that, man. But he's still available in a lot of leagues, 95% of the leagues still. And they got a lot of stuff going on in that backfield there. They still got Rashad Jennings, Shane Vereen, Andre Williams. But Darkwa, he led the backfield in carries. Only had 8, though. 48 yards and a touchdown versus Dallas this past week. He really came out of nowhere. But like I said, moving forward, they still have some good running backs out there. He may lead the backfield in carries moving forward, but I don't expect it to be 20 a game or anything like that. They got too many solid running backs out there for anyone to be beast. But if you're in a deep league, Darkwa, you want to go take a chance on him. How about Tennessee? They got all kinds of stuff going on in their backfield. Antonio Andrews, he's available in about 85% of the leagues. Last week, he only had 10 carries, but he gained 57 yards against Atlanta. And that's not a great fantasy performance, but Wisenhunt's been saying he wants to get him the ball more moving forward. And he has double-digit fantasy performances twice in 4 games played. But this is a guy that's really touchdown dependent. And he is going to have to get the ball more moving forward to be valuable. And you're just going to have to take Wisenhunt's word for it. But there's, like I said, there's a lot going on. They got Dexter McCluster out there, too.
Duck McCluck.
He's available in about 95% of the leagues. He has 3 straight double-digit fantasy performances in 6 weeks. And last week he had 6 receptions for 48 yards, plus added 20 yards rushing on the ground versus Atlanta as well. And he's going to be the guy that's used in the passing game. They really have had trouble running the ball this season. So McCluster right now may still be the most valuable back in Tennessee just because they're getting him the ball in the passing game. Mettenberger last week, like I said, he got him the ball 6 times just in the passing game. And he's getting some carries as well. It's not like Antonio Andrews is getting every carry out there. But they also got David Cobb. He's available in about 90% of the leagues. He's expected to return when he's first eligible here in Week 9. He's been on the IR. He was thought to have the highest upside by a lot of people in the preseason. And really, like I said, no one's taking control of this backfield. There is a chance this guy takes a large role in his backfield once he returns and just outplays Antonio Andrews and Dexter McCluster and Bishop Sankey. So if I'm going to add one of these guys, I'm probably going to go Cobb just because it's the unknown and there's a possibility he does blow up. But outside of that, until he comes back, I'm going to say Dexter McCluster just because he's used in the passing game right now.
Would you trade Fitz and McCoy for Antonio Brown?
Fitz and McCoy. I think Fitz is trending down a little bit. I think McCoy still has his best games yet to play. I mean, you really have to be loaded at running back, I'd say, and really want Antonio Brown at receiver. So I'd say I know what your team looks like. I'd probably say no on that.
I want the Ben Brown combo points.
I get it. Let's keep going here. Charles Sims, running back from Tampa Bay. He's available in about 70% of the leagues. He had 3 straight double-digit fantasy performances prior to their Week 6 bye, but he just had a few points this past week, although he did have 10 carries for 49 yards, so he did run well on the ground. But he is, just like McCluster, the running back that's used in the passing game here in Tampa Bay, and he's put up some big weeks. So if you're in a deeper league, he's still available in most leagues, so you can go maybe use him, not every week. He's not going to be an every week flex guy for you, but he can fill in and give you good points.
All right, so I'm going to sign him and then trade McCoy and Fitz. Is that all right?
I mean, I'd go after someone like Alfred Blue first or James Starks if he's out there. I don't think he is in your league, though. How about C.J. Spiller? Go at him, maybe.
Block that dude.
Well, listen, he's available in about 40% of the leagues, and I just... you say block everyone.
I know, that's why it's good.
Yeah, what's good? What is good?
My catchphrase, it works.
Oh,
Block
yeah.
everybody.
Yeah, I get it. Okay.
It works.
But look, a lot of fantasy experts are saying you can drop this guy now, and you can if you have a good team and you're looking for something else. But he had his second double-digit fantasy performance in PPR this past week at Indianapolis. 6 catches for 32 yards, and he added 16 yards on the ground as well. And Sean Payton keeps saying he wants to get Spiller more involved in this offense. And if you remember, he's just coming over to a new team. He was injured at the beginning of the season, so he really hasn't learned this offense entirely yet. And I do believe they're going to get him more involved moving forward. Now, is he going to be consistent? Probably not, but in a good matchup, I wouldn't mind having him in the flex position. In fact, I think I have him as a sleeper this week.
Sleeper.
One last running back here, Brandon Oliver from San Diego, available in about 90% of the leagues. If you're in a very deep league, you can go out and add this guy. He's been putting up a little bit of value these past couple weeks. Danny Woodhead, he's the best back to own in San Diego, especially in PPR. Melvin Gordon has had fumbling issues and is dealing with an injury right now. San Diego's run game really hasn't been good all season long. They're a very pass-heavy offense. Oliver's better than Melvin Gordon in the passing game at this point. I don't think they're going to give up on Melvin Gordon. I mean, they just picked him in the first round this year, so they're going to give him many more chances to earn the starting role in that backfield. But right now, they don't have much going on the ground. They're such a pass-heavy offense. Woodhead and Oliver look like the best options out there right now.
Woodhead.
All right, wide receivers, Stephon Diggs, available in about 40% of the leagues.
Dig it. That frog that liked that cereal would like him, right? The Sugar Smacks frog?
Yes, I know
was
what
his
you're
name?
talking about. I don't know his name.
Dig him.
But
He digs it.
Diggs, 28 targets in 3 games, has 2 100-yard games, scored his first TD on a great catch this past week at Detroit. He looks like the go-to guy for Teddy Bridgewater. Even in 8-team leagues, I'm saying this guy's a must-add right now.
TBW. That's my new name for Teddy Bridgewater.
Michael Floyd, available in about 50% of the leagues. He has 3 double-digit fantasy performances in PPR over the past 4 weeks. His best 2 games came over the past 2 weeks. He scored a TD in each game. He needs to be owned in pretty much all 10-team leagues. They still got Brown and Fitz out there ahead of him, but Palmer's looking his way more and more since he's back and healthy now. Brandon LaFell, he's available in about 35% of the leagues still.
Picked that dude up.
2 receptions for 25 yards last week in his first game back, but
he dropped like 4 passes.
He did get 8 targets. Yeah, he had
Rusty.
a quiet game. But it's also due to game plan, too. You got to remember, they faced the New York Jets. They got the strong corners out there. And a lot of people were saying before the game, Danny Amendola is going to be targeted more in that game just because I love how you talk behind me so people can't even understand what I'm hearing.
I can hear it.
Well, that's good. Anyways, yeah, go out and add Brandon LaFell if he's still there. He should be Brady's number 2 target moving forward. Nate Washington, he's available in about 95% of the league still. Look at this, 9 catches, 127 yards, and 2 touchdowns last week. And that's coming back after missing 3 games. He had 16 targets in that game. He has 2 100-yard games, and look, 44 targets in 4 games played. Nate Washington is targeted a ton, and I love targets. This guy's been doing it all season long when he's healthy.
Where's he at? Houston.
Houston.
1 less quarterback to throw him the ball, but at least they know who the starter is now.
Yeah, Brian Hoyer, like I said, he's an ad too, so that connection looks pretty good out there. Obviously, DeAndre Hopkins too.
I hope Ryan Mallett wasn't your sleeper this week.
Ryan Mallett? No, never. Devontae Adams, available in about 40% of the leagues. He's expected to return this week against the Denver Broncos. He'll be the number 3 behind Jones and Cobb. He doesn't have huge value. Maybe something like a low-end number 3 or a number 4 in something like a 12-team league. So if wide receivers are slim on waiver wire, he's not the worst ad in the world. Neither is Tyler Lockett. Look, he's available in about 85% of the leagues. Last week at San Francisco, 5 catches, 79 yards, and a touchdown. He's very young. He's inconsistent. But look, he's probably their best playmaker out there. I mean, they got Marshawn Lynch.
Whoa.
He's the beast. But Lockett really is a better playmaker than Doug Baldwin and
Jimmy Graham?
Jermaine Kearse. I mean, Jimmy Graham, you got him out there. He's just a beast, too. He's sort of like Marshawn, just a beast.
Jimmy S'mores.
But Tyler Lockett's the guy that you can maybe throw a screen to and he'll take it to the house.
Lock it down.
He needs to get more involved in this offense. He should be the number 1 receiver by season's end, maybe next season.
I need to start coming up with Christmas names for all these dudes. It's creeping.
We'll get there. Jordan Reed, what's a Christmas name for him? He's available in about 40% of the league still. This guy's a beast. 47 targets and 3 TDs in 5 games played this season. He was forced out with an injury, a concussion, and he missed a couple games, came back this past week and had 11 catches, 72 yards, and 2 touchdowns. This guy is a top 10 tight end, and he should be available in about 2% of the leagues.
Beast.
Another tight end, Eric Ebron, available in about 75% of the league still. That's ridiculous.
Double E.
3 double-digit fantasy performances in PPR to start the season. Was hurt early, just like Jordan Reed. In his 4th game, then he missed the following 2 games, just like Jordan Reed. And he returned this week. 5 catches, 89 yards, and a touchdown. He also has top 10 potential. I'd take Jordan Reed first, but Eric Ebron's a beast. And ASJ, Austin Seferian-Jenkins, available in about 70% of the leagues. Still questionable for this week, and he's missed the past 4 weeks. But we've seen in week 1, 5 catches, 110 yards, 2 touchdowns before being hurt in game 2. And once he comes back, he's going to be one of Jameis Winston's top targets behind Mike Evans. And I think Vincent Jackson actually just got hurt this past week. He has top 10 potential as well. But that's finally it. There's a ton of names there, a ton of people to go out and add. All right, let's move on to situational starters here. Who are you starting off with?
You didn't give me much choice here, but I'm going to go with Marvin Jones. He's going up against the Steelers. They give up mad fantasy points to wide receivers. They give up mad yards to all quarterbacks pretty much. Even Colin Kaepernick put up big yards against his defense. They don't give up a lot of points, though. But when they do score, it's usually to a wide receiver. The Steelers are good at shutting down the run game. It forces the other team to throw. We've actually been pretty good at shutting down A.J. Green in his career, although that was Ike Taylor kind of near his prime doing that. Now we got Antoine Blake and Willie Gay, and I think that's all we got. Ross Cockrell. So
not only
those 3
have they
names
shut
alone
down
means
A.J.
play
Green,
Jones.
okay, I mean, they've shut down the number 1 receiver, okay, this season. It's really been the number 2 and number 3 receivers that's done it big against
Hello
the
there,
Steelers this
number
year,
2.
and that's Marvin Jones. And look, over his last 2 games, he has 20 targets, 14 receptions, 156 yards, and a touchdown. 4 double-digit fantasy performances in 6 games. This guy's been pretty good all season, and I'm playing him this week at Pittsburgh.
Who throws a shoe, honestly?
I'm going to go with Tavon Austin versus San Francisco. They allowed the 6th most fantasy points to wide receivers this season. He has
TNA, that's a great nickname, sorry.
double-digit fantasy points in PPR 3 straight weeks now, 4 times in 6 games this season. And he has 19 targets and 3 TDs in that span as well. So he looks like Foles' top option out there, as bad as it sounds. Tavon Austin looks like the best receiver to have in St. Louis right now until Brian Quick can climb the ladder on the depth chart. I'm saying Nick Foles gets on track this week against a bad defense in San Francisco, and Tavon Austin has a solid game.
TNA beast in the PPR.
How about a tight end? Ben Watson versus the New York Giants. They bled up the 4th most fantasy points to tight ends this season. He followed up his huge Week 6 performance, you remember, versus Atlanta with a solid outing versus Indy as well. 4 catches, 59 yards. It's only 9 points in PPR, but it's not terrible because he did fall a yard short of a TD 2 different times in that game. So he could have had another big game. And he has 17 receptions, 222 yards, and 2 touchdowns over his last 3 games.
I don't know. I'm not hating. I'm skeptical of the Saints offense this year.
Yeah, you've been saying it all year long, but I mean, Drew Brees, he's been pretty good so far this year.
He's averaging the lowest passing yards per completion of his career in New Orleans.
We're just talking fantasy here, man. How about your sleeper?
I'm going to go with Malcolm Floyd for San Diego. He's going up against Baltimore. Baltimore's complete garbage. They allow the 2nd most points to fantasy wide receivers. I'm pretty sure I could go out and get 100 yards against them.
Doubtful.
Pretty sure I could. Floyd only had 1 reception for 7 yards last week versus Oakland, but that was an off game for him. Rivers gets back on track. Floyd gets back on track. Baltimore just keeps getting worse. Block you, Baltimore. You're the only team freaking beat us. You're not the only team, but you're garbage. I hate them.
Yeah, like you said, you took him last week. That was a home game. He really hasn't been very good at home this season, but he's been great on the road. Look, in 3 road games this season, Floyd has 3 double-digit fantasy performances in PPR, 11 catches, 213 yards, and 1 touchdown in those games. San Diego, pass-heavy offense, nothing going on the ground out there. I think Malcolm Floyd bounces back as well.
He gets the road PPR.
I'm going to go with Charles Sims at Atlanta. they've led up the most fantasy points to running back this season, and there's a good chance that they could be passing a ton in this game if they fall behind to Atlanta. Although Atlanta's offense didn't look great versus Tennessee last week, but they're a better defense than Tampa Bay as well. But he had 3 straight double-digit fantasy performances prior to their Week 6 bye. But he had just a couple points this past week. But like I said, 10 carries, 49 yards on the ground, and Atlanta can't stop the run. So I think Doug Martin and Charles Sims will both get a shot at some serious playing time and some serious yardage on the ground in this game. And if they have to pass, Charles Sims is going to be the guy.
I hope Sims gets it because I hate the Duggernaut.
Muscle hamster.
I liked him way better when he was the muscle hamster.
All right, let's move on to deep sleepers.
Was there a question of who I was going to pick on this list? You should have just picked it for me.
Well, that's why I put him in there.
Heath Miller, baby. Going up against Cincinnati, they give up the 13th most points to tight ends. Big Ben's coming back. Heath is finally going to get back into this offense. Mike Vick was garbage. Landry Jones was good for a quarter and a half, and then he was garbage. Heath is feeling it this week.
Yeah, he had back-to-back double-digit fantasy performances to start the season before Ben went down, actually, in that third game there. He had 13 targets in the first 2 games of the season, 11 targets in the 5 games since. No receptions last week. Ben's going to come back. He's going to find a way to get him the ball.
No receptions last week.
Nope.
That's got to be the first time in a
time.
really long time Heath didn't catch a pass. Way to go, Landry. Now I think you did even worse. Garbage.
I'm going to go with Lance Moore at Kansas City. They've allowed the most fantasy points to wide receivers this season. He had no catches on 1 target last week versus Minnesota, but the 2 games prior to that, 11 catches, 161 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And the one thing is, those 2 games were without Eric Ebron. Now, Ebron's back. You've seen Lance Moore didn't do much, but Kansas City's been bad against the pass this season. They think they're riding high because they shut down Landry Jones, but really, Antonio Brown and Martavis Bryant still did well against them out there. I think Lance Moore is going to get it back on track. Matt Stafford's gaining a little bit of momentum from the beginning of the season. I think Lance Moore is going to have a decent game.
L&M's. That's what Easy smokes.
How about a running back? Dexter McCluster at Houston. We talked about him in the waiver claim segment. They have a good matchup going against Houston. They allowed the 7th most fantasy points to running backs this season. Like I said, he's the guy used in the passing game. Houston hasn't been stopping anybody. I'll give Dexter McCluster a go if I really need a running back. But that's it, man. Wrap it up.
That's it. I got to wrap this crap up because that's what Dash says, and if I don't do it, he might punch me in the face.
Please believe.
Follow us on Twitter at bet_the_spread. Let us know if you want him to punch me in the face or not. Follow me on Twitter at betjimthewin. Give me some well wishes after he punches me in the face.
We're going to get more comments than we ever got saying, yes, punch him in the face.
We might. You never know. Hit us up on Twitter. Let them know if you want him to punch me in the face, or on Facebook. Facebook.com/betthespread. Let us know in our comment section at youtube.com/betthespread.
I'm going to punch you in the Facebook.
That's a good one. Although I think every joke I've ever made was better. Peace!